What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to probably my biggest in terms of scope update yet for crowdfunding this year. It's going to be huge, so stay tuned. Now, as an FYI, I always endeavor to respond to so many of your guys' comments. I read so much of them. I craft actual responses to them. I like them. I heart them. I do all that stuff because I do this for you guys. However, I am not here currently. This is me recording a little bit ahead of time so that I can go on an anniversary trip with my wife for a few days, get away from kids, get away from the hustle and bustle of work and life and all that stuff, and just chill out in the mountains in a cabin somewhere. So I'll be doing that. I'll be playing board games, be painting, doing all that stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I'll come back towards the beginning of next week. So just as an FYI on that, if you don't see me down there, that's why. That being said, thank you for all the well wishes that I'm sure you just made. With that, this is going to be a huge one. I'm covering, even at the very end, like all the big stuff coming up that you guys are really excited about that I know because you guys are already like pumped and like ready to go. So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at everything that just launched recently, some of the big ones on right now, a whole bunch. So let's just dive right in. All right, right off the bat, Fractured Sky finally launched. This is IV Studio's next big game. If you didn't know, they actually are like an animation studio that like does stuff for like McDonald's and Netflix and Bad Robot and a whole bunch of other big companies. But they also are board game nerds and decided, let's just make our own board games. So why not? Now, that being said, they are huge on premium and on very, very neat looking games, very pretty games. Let's take a look at Fractured Sky. This has you going around on airships, gathering resources, essentially. Very Euro in that kind of sense. There's a whole lot of like really interesting stuff, and they do a great job showing it. So for instance, if we scroll down a little bit, you're going to see hidden information. So you get to like see like rules and things that are going to happen that other people don't. Blind bidding battles. So you're going to do the kind of blind bidding thing that you like maybe in like a Rising Sun, stuff like that. You're going to have some strategic construction. We're going to like build stuff for area control and long-term growth, and then resource management on how you're going to do all of the above essentially. So it kind of encapsulates that right off the bat, right up front. This is a great looking campaign, by the way. Just and the fact that I'm able to show that to you without a lot of scrolling, thumbs up IV Studios for that. Fantastic job there. They talk about a whole lot of different things that you can look at around like what's cool about that, what's not. They have some very cool foil cards that look super awesome. So very excited about that. Nice little unlocks when it comes to like the components and stuff that just seem neat. Art prints, I don't care about that, but whatever. It's cool for people to have it. The tray itself looks cool. It's got magnetic pieces and you can get it for super cheap. This is actually one of my favorite things here. We're going to keep scrolling a little bit to see the prices because it's darn impressive if you ask me. So, retail pledge, $49. That's fantastic. $49. That is really, really good. And you get the player screen that's detached. You get, a Spot UV board, which is already nice. That's like standard. They have like a black core cards that are standard, so very nice cards when it comes to that. The thickness and rigidity of it. The deluxe, $129. So $130 is a little high. However, you do get some miniatures. There are just a couple sculpts that are repeated, so it's not too much of a cost for them. But these custom player trays are super cool. And it also has the magnets on there, so they kind of stick together and all that. All that's very cool as well. And then $180 for the super deluxe edition, where you get the painted minis. These are machine painted, by the way. So they'll be very crisp and very kind of like flat. Hopefully that makes sense. Hollow foil objective cards and a hollow foil box, which is super awesome. Kind of like how you want your house to have a lot of like curb appeal. I want my games to have a lot of shelf appeal. So that's really cool too. Just super cool to see the quality that's going into this, both in thought and coverage and lead up to it and execution. It just really good across the board. Very, very well done. Also, huge shout out to Mr. Munch, whose name stood out to me. Very good because it's Mr. Munch, and it's all capital in their playtesters. Good on you, Mr. Munch. I'm sure you did a great job. And thank you for the smile as I read your name. Anyway, this looks great, guys. Like, it looks like a solid back. And they're doing great. Almost 500,000 already. So 20 days to go. All right, next up is Thorgal, the board game. This is one I've been eyeing for a long time now because I love the art. I love the kind of style. As I read up on Thorgal or Thorgal, I can't really tell how you're supposed to pronounce that. It seems really cool. If you like Viking stuff, it's very reminiscent of that. It mixes kind of like myth and reality into there a lot, which is really cool. It's essentially like Conan, if Conan was a better person. Hopefully that explains that a little bit. It kind of reminds me of like Oko Chronicles with the comic book style a little bit, which is also super neat. It looks really nice, and they have some look right up. Why back now? Get it first. Get the exclusives and get more at a good price. So not only do you get it better, not only get it at a better price, but you get exclusive stuff as well. And that price, by the way, $94.91 gives you the core game plus all stretch goals. Don't know if there's going to be anything else. They're doing daily unlocks. The first one is this Wolf Cub mini, which looks super cool, by the way. I don't know what's coming up next. It just launched, so we will see. But definitely, it looks kind of nice. There's these standalone adventures that you get to go on. That's what this is here. You get to move around and do all that stuff there. You actually get a ton of stuff too. The minis, by the way, look super cool. I dig that. He looks like he has a bit more beard here than in the picture, which is kind of interesting. And it's interesting that this is the Thorgal that we get there, when the one here seems fairly clean shaven. So I don't know, and even same here, right? Fairly clean shaven. So I don't know if we'll have multiple versions of him or not. That'll be kind of interesting to see. But you get, I mean, it is like, it reminds me kind of like Solomon Kane and how it looks to kind of, not how it plays, but how it feels when it comes to exploring and doing a little scenario like this. Because it has a ton of different like cards and dice and tokens and goods and, I mean, a ton of different stuff that's going on there. It looks actually pretty darn neat. So that's super cool. And it seems people like it from what I can tell. I don't know if it's been in a lot of people's hands, but definitely interested in this one, just from the style of it, if that makes sense. Next up, Dungeons & Lasers 5, World of Desulaire. This is huge. It's a 5e compatible thing. This is the 5th Dungeons & Lasers. They being Archon Studio, do a fantastic job on these. Great quality product, very cheap. HEXplore miniatures at less than $1 a mini, plus all of the RPG goodness that you could want. It's crazy good, guys. Really, really good. Look at these super stretch goals. Look at this freaking thing. Look how massive that is. They're just insane is what they are. They're crazy, and I love it. I think it's just really, really good stuff. They even comment on their early delivery, 6 months early, 3 months early, 3 months early on time. They have done such a great job with all this. It's just incredible. Part of it's because they print their own minis. And over there in Poland, they're doing this kind of a multi-pose thing that Oathsworn did a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see the difference here. I think the difference here is that this is not push to fit. I think you just glue them together separately. So you can make different versions of them that way. You could also do magnets or putty though too. Either way, very, very cool. A whole bunch of bases, but all the bases support the same people, so you can just customize how you do that. Honestly, I still think they start out very tame and then get crazy and big when you do this whole scroll thing. But there are a ton of minis. But as you can see, they get pretty cool. They get pretty cool. So super cool about all that. And all their past stuff is available as well, of course. And then a whole bunch of people talking about how great everything is as well. There's a ton here, though. You can go big, you can go tiny. So the base pledge, $97. That gives you the 99 miniatures plus an add-on, which is probably about another 40 miniatures, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the add-on you do, I believe. So like 150-ish miniatures for $97. These are HEXplore miniatures. Very good Games Workshop Warhammer level quality stuff there, which is super awesome. So very, very nice there. And then the core, like if you want everything, is 402, and that gives you about 1 million pounds of miniatures. And of course the RPG stuff as well. So it's big. It's really big. All right, next up we have Terrorscape, the immersive horror board game for 2 to 4 players. This is a 1 versus mini game. And literally this is the board. It's this giant like cardboard thing that separates the killer from the investigators. Think of it kind of like a Scooby-Doo kind of thing, but like way scarier. And it even has like a dice tower. Like this is actually a dice tower in here and has markers and stuff like that. It just looks like a very, very interesting time. It looks like it plays a little bit different. It looks like it feels a little bit different from a lot of other games out there. And I really like the individuality it seems to have when it's doing that. It does have plenty of miniatures. Tom Bassel said they're good. He's not exactly the reigning expert on miniatures, but he's seen a lot of them, so he seemed to be happy with the prototypes at least. This is literally the game though. So you can see you have the standees here, you have some trackers here, and then trackers here, and a dice tower all built into this wall separating you so you don't know how the killer's moving around and stuff like that. Super duper cool, I feel. Just a neat concept. I mean, like, really, really neat to me. I think that's pretty slick. They do have a deluxeified version that has neoprene mats and all that other kind of stuff, so you can check that out as well, of course. And it's going to set you back. I hate this whole, like, when it's in a different currency, that, like, if it's a high number, it looks kind of scary. About $75. I know that $585 seems scary. About $75 would get it for you. Or if you want the gameplay all in, that's all the expansions as well, was to add, like, different stuff for, like, the killer and stuff like that. $139. And then if you want to deluxeify the whole thing, $248. Seems like it's getting a little pricey there, but obviously it's deluxeifying quite a bit because it's the whole thing. So you get, like, several neoprene mats and stuff like that. Very cool to see, though. This is the last warning here. You go and pause a bit if you want. This is the Unidice. The Unidice seems kind of interesting. It's essentially just like a phone app, but in physical form, kind of melding the two together. So if you've ever been concerned about wanting to be able to customize stuff like a phone app can do when it comes to rolling dice and whatnot, but you also like the physicality of rolling dice, Unidice might be an answer for you. Feel free to check it out. It's almost over. Next up, we have Dungeon Saga Origins. A lot of you guys are very, very happy about this. It's by Mantic Games. Some of you aren't so happy about Mantic Games, but traditional fantasy dungeon romp. This looks like games that you used to see on Kickstarter, and I mean that in a good way. It's just doing its dandiest, being a typical fantasy fare, and I really appreciate that. We don't get that very often anymore, and so it's really cool to see that. It doesn't look like it's playing any games. It's not like it's trying to make any statements. Doesn't look like it's trying to do nothing except have some cool goblins and orcs and barbarians and clerics and wizards and stuff like that. Love it. I think that's awesome. Looks cool. Next up, we have Gatefall Monsters. This still has 8 days left. Hasn't honestly done as much as I expected it to. I figured this one would be kind of a big one for it. However, I'm not sure Gatefall as a platform is necessarily the strongest platform, especially how long it's been. They tried to do another one and it didn't even fun. Now they're doing this one and it's okay. It's fine. But I mean, with how big these are big minis, by the way. I mean, they're like this big. They're huge, massive minis. I just don't feel like there's enough fans that are willing to keep buying more Gatefall stuff. Maybe that makes sense. I think it kind of needs to be changed up a little bit, perhaps. Though, if they're happy with it, then that's fine too. Of course, they don't. You don't have to break the bank or do anything like that when it comes to this. But I mean, this is really the game, and that's kind of it set up. It's very, very streamlined of a skirmish game. It's fun. I enjoyed it. It's just not something I want to spend hundreds on over time either. Next up, we have HEXplore, Fall of the Ancients, 347, 2,600 backers. This is, you look at this, guys. It's ridiculous. There's so much information here. I'm not even bother scrolling because a lot of it's text too. They spent more time writing this out than I think a lot of companies do on their entire campaign. If you are into HEXplore, this is definitely something to get into. If you have thought you might like HEXplore, you dive in, I guess. This is it. I mean, that's what you're doing there. So it looks like a high bar of entry to me. But if for people who love it, I'm sure they're having a blast with it. Next up, we have Crown of Ash. This is a bit more my style. This is a very pretty game. I really, really like the look of this game. I just think it looks cool. Love the colors, love the starkness, love the like hard lines mixed with the colorful art and all that stuff. I just think it looks super, super cool. And I really dig card games right now. I'm really into it. I just got my DC deck building stuff in, not the new Kickstarter stuff. I got like the old Kickstarter stuff. I actually pledged through my free and local gaming store for the like supervillain stuff in the box and Injustice and whatnot. So waiting on that still, but I got all the other stuff and I'm super excited for it because it's just a fun family game that we play a lot. So yeah, there's a lot more tokens and stuff here, by the way, than you might think as well. And it'll set you back about 56 bucks for the base pledge, or if you want the deluxe, about 75. So it's definitely on the cheaper side, total cost wise at least. The Last Kingdom board game, again, didn't seem to do as much. This is by Gamelin Games, who are used to making these huge successes with tons and tons of backers with their small games. But this one, I think a lot of it's just the stills from the show. I think it's just really hurting the style. It looks like a retail game to me. And I mean like a Walmart retail game where you don't really get a lot of selection on board games. This is just kind of mass market appeal, IP ridden stuff that it just, I'm not saying the game plays like that. I'm just saying what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. I would have much preferred some actual art there, perhaps, as compared to that. And the minis don't look super impressive either or anything like that. And they really focus, as you can see, on the IP as opposed to necessarily the gameplay. So it'd be nice to see a bit more on that too. They definitely have it there. Just, I don't know, this just seems so amateurish. So kind of interesting to see that. And I think they kind of phoned it in a little bit. And I think the backing reflects that a little bit. To 180 from that, almost a 3 million now, almost 10,000 backers for the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. So that's going to be huge. 10 days left on that. Definitely going to be big. It'll be my first entry into Chip Theory games. I read a comment that was funny. It was somebody saying that the biggest accomplishment Chip Theory games ever did was convincing people that weighted poker chips is a premium product, which I laughed at that. It's funny. It's funny. It looks cool. I actually don't mind the art too much, which normally I hate the art. I don't even know what's going on with that. The wolf is cool. I don't know what she's doing there, but she looks like she's in pain. I don't typically like the art style for a lot of Chip Theory game stuff. It's not my thing. However, a lot of the beasts and baddies and stuff like that look pretty good. So I'm pretty excited for that. They don't have a ton. I'm not going to be getting everything. I don't want to break the bank on it. Just diving in, but I'm certainly excited for it. They've been doing a lot. If we go to stuff like stretch goals here, as you can see, they've been doing quite a bit of stuff. A lot of it's single cards and stuff like that, but a lot of it's kind of neat too. Like this is a whole new class. It doesn't seem like a lot because it's just the same thing, painted different colors. So I think they can do a better job of that actually, but beyond that, looks pretty cool. So I will definitely be backing that. You'll see that on the channel later. BattleTech Mercenaries also doing big. 18,776 backers, 781 backers, $5,400,000. Huge success to Catalyst Games doing this. And honestly, at this numbers, this seems very much like this is definitely just retail stuff on Kickstarter. And it really is. If you back at the higher levels, you save quite a bit of money. Otherwise, you're not actually saving too much. And some of their extreme pledges seem a bit, I don't know, wishy-washy to me. But if you like BattleTech, it's definitely something to support. Definitely supports the IP and the system at large. And you can save some money if you're going to get this stuff anyway. So that's pretty cool. Next up, we have the Thinning Veil relaunch. I'm not sure this is going to even make it to where it did before. Let's see, how much did they make the first time? Let's find out real quick. I can't remember. I don't want to say something that's wrong here. But it's definitely not going to make it, right? A week, and they still need almost 100,000. Yeah. So see, they're not even to where they made it the first time. Both in backers and in funding. So it's not going to happen, which is unfortunate because I know they put a lot of effort into this. It's one of those things where it's also it's a bad time to launch right now anyway. I mean, you see how many stuff I'm covering, how many big name items are on here right now, how much stuff is coming up. You're about to get into that section of the video. That's going to be huge. It's just kind of a bad, this looks freaking cool. It's just a bad time to necessarily be launching right now, which is unfortunate. And it's hard to get people excited a second time. It really is. That second time, if your problem was, outreach, often you don't have enough time to really gain that outreach. And otherwise, it's just the same people coming back, maybe, that have already seen this stuff before. So hopefully they still can. That'd be kind of cool to see them succeed. I always dig an indie developer succeeding, but doesn't look like it. Next up, we have PaintPal Studio, a 3D printable desktop hobby system. Guys, this is like $14. If nothing else, it's $17. You could back this and then have, for local gaming stores will often print. They have a 3D printer or two that they're doing stuff with. I know my closest one actually does that. Otherwise, somebody in the hobby locally often does that. You can just post on Facebook, ask around the gaming store, stuff like that. Or there's just online services that'll print it for you. Or you can print it yourself. It'd be the cheapest painting solution storage thing you could possibly get, and it looks pretty robust too, with the able to put it flat on the ground, or able to put it where you can put shelves underneath and stuff like that. Seems pretty cool, and again, fairly freaking cheap too, which is super awesome. Redgrass R9 desk lamp for creative people, the polar opposite. This is very expensive, like very expensive, but people are loving it. It's $220 for this lamp. It has 2 lights at 5,000 Kelvin, so it's a little warm for my taste, but a lot of people will enjoy that. Very nicely constructed, obviously saves a lot of space. It has both wide and like focused, so you can kind of light a whole area or light really just the mini there. Gets kind of lamps out of your face more and stuff like that. Looks very, very nice. It's just really expensive too. If it could go to 56K like I'd like it, or 5,600K, sorry. 5,600, and then it's like, I think it's Kelvin or whatever. It's just the temperature, so it's a little bit more blue. And for me, that's because I need to offset yellow lighting. There's kind of my walls aren't perfectly white. There's a little bit of yellowness in there too. It just, in generally, it's the sun's shining, stuff like that. A lot of times you get a little bit more yellow in there, and I like to counteract that a little bit with my lighting. Next up, Project L reprint plus new expansion. Huge success. Props to them. Boardcubator, if you didn't know, they did the Kingdom Come Deliverance board game that failed to fund and it closed as a company. They're back and they're ready to start strong apparently, because this is huge. 7,000 backers, 360,000 raised. They're doing quite good. This is Project L, which is a game that I would not play, as you can see, but a lot of people really love it. It looks super cool, and I'm just really glad that they're back and doing well. That's just awesome to see. Next up, Mindbug Beyond for 270,000 raised, almost 4,000 backers where they're heading towards. It was 10 days to go. Super cool to see that. Not a huge update since last time I showed this. It's a card game made by Richard Garfield that a lot of people seem to enjoy. I did see one of you guys commented saying that the quality of the cards was a little lacking, and that's super unfortunate. So you should probably, if you're interested in this, also maybe look into some sleeving to kind of counteract the cheapness of the cards. Unfortunate. For a card game, you should have good cards. Zombicide White Death broke 1 million finally, and over 11,000 backers. They have a ton of stretch goals, and they already have 3 add-ons, I believe, at the time of recording. So they're definitely letting you spend more, which is super important to do. They're daily unlock survivors. That's pretty cool. I like how that's organized. So you can buy the Eternal Empire for 45. You can buy the Crossfire pack for 35. I lied. You can buy the Warlords of Rising Sun for 25, which is amazing that it's like the Rising Sun stuff. That's kind of fun. And then $20 for the Berserker Walkers. So they already have, 4 add-ons, and it's just going to keep going. Again, expect to spend about $350 to $400, maybe even a bit more once this is all said and done. If you want everything, they're going to be offering quite a bit of stuff there. I've seen a few of you people mention this Amaterasu or whatever. Actually, understand the character. I can't pronounce it. I've I've watched enough anime to see characters named this. I've looked enough into Japan culture to understand. Yes, it's a character. Just naming something doesn't make it what it is. So this is definitely an angel with the angel wings. In fact, I even bothered to Google Amaterasu to see if anybody else in the first little scroll drew her with wings. Nobody did. But, you put the little head ornament that she's often seen there. You put the name there. You adjust the theme a little bit, and now it's suddenly that character. I need more than just superficiality with that. They're just throwing anything that looks remotely Asian into this game and hoping for the best. So that's what they're doing there. But yeah, hey, if you need a Zombicide, if this is if you don't like the traditional fantasy or you want something new, this will definitely get it for you. There is a lot of different visuals in here, a wide variety of visuals. Some people view that as a pro, some as a con, but either way, it's definitely a different flavor of Zombicide than what you're used to, and that will appeal to a lot of people. Coming up, these are the big ones coming up. Dead Cells, I'm starting with that, 11,782 followers, and that's just going to increase. My son has fallen in love with this game, and he's played it a ton, even though I've played it less and gone farther than him, but that's fine. That's whatever. It's fine. It's one of those roguelite games, or roguelike games is how I typically say it, where you like gain improvements over time. And so like, you know, you make this run and you repeat it, and you get a little bit farther, and you get a little bit farther, right? Because you're gaining these like little buffs, kind of like Townsfolk Tussle. And it looks like the board game will be doing the same. Now, what this is, does it have minis? I don't know. We will find out, of course. Gloomhaven, the role-playing game. This is coming out in June, guys, so just a couple months from now. And the reason I'm showing a lot of these is because I want you to see what's coming up, because that can help define what you're backing now. If you want the Gloomhaven RPG, if you're excited for that, don't be blindsided by it in June after spending a whole bunch of stuff you want less of. Save your money for this. It's going to be massive. It's RPG plus all the minis. It's going to be huge, guys. So this is going to be a big one. Next up, also Lone Wolf, the miniatures game. Super excited for that. Again, looks like a great fantasy theme here that I'm really excited to see a little bit about. And the story should be good too, because they typically do these game books. And the game books are kind of like a choose your own adventure game. In other words, exactly like our narrative games and board games, but without minis. Well, now they're adding minis, so let's see what that involves from them. Apex Legends from Glass Cannon Unplugged. That's going to be big. Really excited to see what happens there. They actually have the terrain and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me looking like Infinity, which is kind of neat. And I wonder, gameplay-wise, how close it is to that also. Aeon Trespass Odyssey is coming out with a new reprint for Aeon Trespass Odyssey, which, of course, was huge. I'm sorry, I should say Into the Unknown is coming out with that. That's the name of the company. But they're also going to have the 12 Sins of Herakles standalone expansion to that. I believe it's standalone, which will be huge. I'll be doing a details video on that here very shortly, so stay tuned for that. It's also one of the videos I'm recording a little early for you guys, so you guys can see that. Dante, The Invasion of Hell. This is going to be massive. It's by Creative Game Studios. They've really struggled with the delivery of their previous game. It's just been so big for them, and they've really kind of like been working on that full stop. But once that's done, once Chronicles of Drunagor is delivered, this is going to be their next thing, and it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's going to be awesome, and I'm super stoked for it. I think it looks really, really cool. Celestial, guys, you know it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be doing a video on that here soon. This is a hint of things to come. These minis are super, super cool. It's not going to stay black. So that's just where it is right now. I'll get it to the point where I'm ready for you guys. But this is going to be massive, guys. So all this stuff, of course, is linked down in the description below. AR Vault is a story dice. This is actually probably the smallest one from Awaken Realms. However, I believe it's the next one from Awaken Realms. And it's essentially just these really fancy die you can do for RPGs or playing Nemesis or stuff like that. They are purposely skewed to roll high or roll low, or do a certain theme or something like that. A very interesting take, I think. A very unique. Next up is the Foundations of Rome's second printing, plus the Roads to Fortune expansion. A lot of people have been enjoying that. It certainly looks pretty, that's for sure. And I think there's going to be a big one there. And Guards of Atlantis 2 Tabletop MOBA. I've heard a lot of you guys say that the Guards of Atlantis 2 was kind of iffy when it comes to delivery and all that kind of stuff. Feel free to let me know. But with 7,245 people ready for this to launch in 13 days, it seems to be doing pretty well too. So yeah, I guess let me know your thoughts on this one. And honestly, let me know your thoughts at all on any of this. I'd love to, of course, hear what you have to say. I will be reading these. I may not have the time to respond to all of them, but I definitely will look into things you need me to look into, clarify things that need to be clarified, all that kind of stuff for you guys. Stay tuned for more stuff, whether it's Celestial stuff, whether it's more unboxings or reviews. Those are coming up here soon too. Of course, some details videos of some of these upcoming games, all that coming to this channel. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.